Good morning, or afternoon, or evening, depending on where you are today joining me. Welcome to my class 2 Yoga, Somatics and Movement. We're going to do a blend of quite restorative today, bringing in some gentle mobilization before swinging up to some more mobilizing asana, so yoga poses, and then bringing us back down to that lovely restorative space of meditation and recentering, reorienting us to our environment, ready for the day to begin. So I'm aware that last time my microphone got in the way a little bit when I was moving. So I'll ensure to put the microphone on top of my head today, and I'll do a little sound check just to make sure that you can hear me before continuing. I hope you're all well today. Take a moment to find a comfortable seat. You may want to join me cross-legged. You are invited to lie down for this opening practice, or you may want to sit against a wall and support your back and your spine, whatever is comfortable for you. You can also place maybe a cushion underneath your sit bones, and I will do that too now, to just protect the hips and the bottom and the tailbone of the spine as you settle in into your arriving asana practice. Okay, so I'm going to begin cross-legged sat up. If you're lying down, you can do this also lying down, stretching out your spine, stretching out your arms above you, palms turned outwards, turning to the sky, and taking a breath there, just stretching into the body, just gently waking up the body. A nice stretch. And if you're lying down, you may want to take your legs in front of you and point the toes and stretch into the legs as well, before releasing that stretch down the sides, spread outwards, arms spread outwards, holding there, or bringing the arms back down to the sides and to your thighs, giving the wrists a circular rotation one way, and the wrists a circular rotation the other. If you're lying down, or if you want to join me with putting your legs stretched out, rotating the ankles one way, rotating them the other. And your left ankle, rotating the ankle one way, and rotating it the other. And settling into your stillness, I invite you to close down your eyes. And we're going to begin with a body map sensing activity, starting from your navel, from your stomach, from your belly button. Feel free to lie down or sit down at any point during this practice. Turning your attention to your navel, breathing deeply in through the navel and outwards. Breathing in deeply from the navel, allowing your diaphragm to open, chest start to expand, and release that breath before returning sensation back to the navel. And just bringing your awareness to your abdomen, to your stomach, to the muscles on either side, to the rib cage that expands it, to the lungs beneath it, taking in air and pushing it out, receiving the air and releasing the air. Noticing any sensations in your abdomen, navel, belly button area, and internally sensing the motion, the fluidity, the warmth, the comfort, the space that we all came from, the space that was once our home. breathing into that space. Allow your sensation, your attention to slowly, slowly radiate from the navel, from your belly button, to the sides, to the flanks of your abdomen, to the hips, to the bottom, down to your tailbone, sensing the tailbone, and back upwards now through the spine, traveling slowly, slowly, sensing the spine that supports you upright if you're sat up with me, the spine making contact with the ground below you if you're lying down, traveling up to the shoulder blades and across the shoulders, down the arms, to the elbows, towards the wrists, towards the palms of your hand, towards the fingertips. And I invite you to just wiggle those fingertips now, wiggling those fingertips. We're going to explore now a little bit with some free associative movement to cue to the body that we are about to move and practice today. From your fingertips and from your wrists, loosening them, you may want to just begin to play with sensation and movement and flow to see what begins to be expressed, carving out the space around you, feeling into the waves that you create. Again, you may want to close down your eyes so you can really follow the sensation and generation of movement without noticing or concerning on how it looks, how it appears, and what it may look like to other people. Following what feels good and right for you. Your movements may look very different from mine. Bringing your attention as you move to the navel, breathing in for the belly button, and the breath allowing that energy from the navel, from the belly to swirl around the chest, the abdomen, the spine, tailbone, to your arms and body, the energy, the fluidity, the life force that runs through you every day. Waking it up, saying hello. If you're laying down, it may appear like this. You may be exploring with movement laterally, side to side, or homologously, up and down, feeling into those waves as we embrace this gentle, restorative exploration of somatic movement, of sensory motor play, of inquisitiveness, or beginning with our more mobilizing, energizing yoga asana practice today. And slowly, slowly now, begin to slow down that movement, slow down that expression until you naturally and consciously begin to come to a stop, to pause into stillness, to pause into quietness, to pause into sensation, Breathing deeply in and out, noticing the shape of your container, of your body, the space that you interacted with, and any new sensation, emotion, feelings that have just generated from that small, beautiful entry into exploratory play. Breathing in and breathing out sharply through the mouth. Breathing in and breathing out sharply through the mouth. You're lying down, and if you're sat up, wiggling the hands, the fingers, giving them a shake. Wiggling the feet, giving them a little shake. And if you're lying down, I invite you to turn over to your left side, fetal position. And when you're ready, slowly lifting yourself up to join us seated on the mat, going slowly and only arising when you feel ready. And taking a moment to recalibrate if you're sitting up from lying down. I invite those who are sitting up and remain sat up to begin to open their eyes and reorient by looking around in your room, noticing any smells, noticing the quality of the air. Is it warm? Is it cold? Noticing your sight, looking at 4 things you can see. I can see the green of my plant, the orange of a salt lamp, the pink of a card, and the porcelain of a tin I made. Reorient and regrounding into the external senses around you after that internal exploration. That reorientation is always very key when we're doing somatic work, to gently guide our nervous system back to our environment and where we are, not shocking it by abruptly getting up. Okay, so let's begin with I'm thinking self-havening or stretches first. I think we're going to begin with self-havening first. So self-havening, if you've been to my other classes, you'll be familiar with what this is. We place our palms to palms and we just rub one way and cross the midline. We go the other way. So left to right, left to right. And you may want to go slowly. You may want to go brisk. You may want to go fast. Create some energy, some fire, some heat. Go and follow what feels the most reflective of your internal energy state. And by energy, I mean, are you low on energy today? Are you fatigued? Are you tired? A nice slow haven would be good for that. Or you may want to waken up the senses or reflect your energy by creating some fire. Feeling into that, breathing into that. That beautiful self-touch to say hello to the body. And from here, self-havening 1 is palm to palm. Self-havening 2 is taking those palms that you can now feel tingling in and putting our fingers across our forehead, haven across the forehead, sweeping to the temples. Across our forehead, sweeping to the temples. Across the forehead, sweeping to the temples. before taking our hands to our cheekbones underneath our eyes. Sweeping hands, pulling across to the temples, towards the ear. Pulling that beautiful self-havening across to the ear. You may want to put your elbows on your knee. If your back is hurting you, lean into that. Or you may want to stay upright. Into the chin. A beautiful self-havening across the chin. Back round along the jawline. From the center of your chin all the way to the jawline, to the corners of the jaw, circling there. And following back where you came towards the chin, circling around the chin. Before giving a little tap on the chin. A tap just under the nose, the philtrum. A tap on the top of your cheekbones, under the eyes, nice and gently. Tapping where we've come from. Tapping the space we've just massaged. Taking that tap out to your temples. Moving the tap up to the center of your eyebrows, your forehead. Tapping gently there. And across and outwards to the temples. And taking all 5 fingers to the crown of your head, tapping on the top of the crown of your head, elongating the spine, sitting upright if it's comfortable for you. You may want to still be bent over if you have back issues. If you can, sitting up, tapping on the head, breathing in and out, being conscious of breath, trying to create a lovely breathing flow before placing palm on crown, other hand on the top of your hand on the crown, expanding your elbows outwards to the side so shoulder blades are touching, and just pushing gently down or firmly on the crown of your head as you find your spinal location of realignment and centering. And you may want to rock into that push, that resistance there. Taking your hand to the back of your skull, pushing on the back of your skull, not like this, but just a gentle push, and you push yourself back against your hand so there's that resistance between the two. Placing your palm on your forehead and just pushing into that realignment again. Gently resisting, feeling the stretch in the arms as you breathe in, before releasing arms outwards, arms to center, palms to midline, palms, fingertips pointing upwards to sky, breathing in and releasing with a lion's breath. You can either take your hands behind you or you can bring your arms down like this. I'll show you both. Palms to sky, lion's breath, sticking out tongue, deep breath in, tongue out, and upwards again we go. Lion's breath, and upwards again we go. Lion's breath. Taking our hands to our knees, I invite you now to join me in some side-to-side spinal movements. Let's begin to mobilize the spine that we've been sitting into and stretching into a little bit there. Gently lubricating all the vertebrae and letting ourselves know that we are about to do some movement. Circling around the pelvis, the hip bone, the hip space around one way, using your hands and your elbows to help with that rotation. Around one way, you may want to pause a little at the top there before swinging back round, allowing the pull of gravity to help you with that motion. And at the top, begin to go the other way that you've just come, tracing back round the way you've just come, circling around, bringing the neck in gently. One more rotation before swirling side to side. Allow that sensation in the head to arrive, to calibrate gently, slowly, come to a pause and realign in center. Feeling all of that lovely motion we've just generated. We're going to now bring our shoulders into this, so rolling our shoulders forward. Doing a nice, real, restorative, slow practice today, with some mobilizing asana a bit later. Not throwing our bodies into it. Shoulders forward, the shoulders back, realigning the spine the way that we just came. Shoulders back, pulling us back into alignment. And you may want to do one shoulder at a time, like a snake, creating a wiggle, shoulders in the other way, like a snake, creating a little wiggle. Before bringing your neck, I invite you to, let me just move my microphone to my lips, because last time, whenever I bent over, the microphone wasn't good, so my apologies about that last week. Very conscious not to do that again today. Okay, I hope you can still hear me. Let me just do a very quick sound check to ensure that you can, if you just bear with me. Just doing a quick sound check. And I can't hear me, so I've got my volume off. Just doing a very quick sound check. Yes, I can hear it. Okay. Thank you for your patience. Bringing our neck now into it. So we take our chin to chest, only to the range of motion that you can, and we bring it round. Doing some lovely neck rolls. You may have some creeps. You may have some clicks. I can hear the gravel in my neck creaking around. We're staying in the same position all night sleeping. This is a beautiful way to give the body and the different areas of our body the movement that it may need. Breathing in and out there. And taking our hands to sky. We're going to do a lateral lean. So we take our left to the floor. And we lean over. And this is what we do in our warriors. So we're doing seated warrior bends here. Getting this beautiful bend, right hand to the sky. Can either be straight like this or bend over. And taking it up to center, palm meets the middle, right to the floor, left leaning over the head. As far as you can go. You may be here. Okay? You may be here. You may be here. Finding your range of motion as we return to the other side now. To the left side of our right in the air. And we're going to find a bit of flow. So flowing upwards, right to floor, left to sky. Flowing one way. Flowing upwards, left goes to floor, right goes to sky. Closing down the eyes if you wish, feeling into that sensation, that rocking. Keeping your sit bones placed firmly on the floor. We're working on the spine here, the sides of the spine. and feeling, truly sensing into that motion of being rocked. So the theme of today is a bit back towards our time of infancy, of development in utero. Began with the navel, the space we came from. Beginning now with rocking movements, rocking motions. The way you may have been rocked as an infant. And meeting me back in center. Going to keeping our head looking forward, taking our left shoulder twisting behind with our arms, right shoulder twisting behind with our arms, cradling the baby, rocking the baby from side to side. And if any emotions come up for you, honor them. Know this is the space for them to arrive. If nothing comes up, absolutely fine. If anything does, just give this time for you to nurture you. This is your 60 minutes, 50 minutes now to nurture the self. And beginning to really spread those arms out, but begin to follow with your head the hand that leads behind. So introducing some gentle spinal twists with blended movement. And you may want to bring some expression into it. You may want to begin to explore. You may want to reach outwards, upwards, downwards. You may want to curl into the self. Give yourself a hug. You may want to expand, to grow, to take up space. This is your few minutes now to join me in some more free associative movement the way we were doing on the mat just before for opening. Tapping back into that flow state that we are beginning to access. If you don't feel comfortable doing free associative, explore the space around you, the range of motion, how far you can reach within comfort. Sensing the air and the space around you, the 3 dimensions that we walk through and live in. Sensing that space. Breathing in and out. And giving our hands a little shake there. Bringing them to front. Shake, 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 shake. Before placing hands to our knees. Feeling the contact of our knees. Breathing in and out there. Taking our hands up to sky, we're going to deepen our spinal twist now into a supine twist. We're going to take our hands up to sky, taking our left hand to our right knee, our right hand behind us. You may be here as you begin to turn the neck and the shoulder and the head around into your seated twist, and holding that twist there, taking a deep breath in and out, and in and out, and returning to center, swooping round, left to the ground, right to your knee. Your range of motion may be here, it may be here, or it may be all the way around here, but finding the range of motion that suits you. Seat bones and sit bones, hips to the floor, rooted, grounded, taking a breath in and a breath out and a breath in. And as you turn, releasing the breath out. As we turn to the other side one more time, sitting into our supine twist. Returning round one more time to the left to our supine twist. Returning to center, taking our hands to the sky, leaning far down in front of you, stretching in front of you as far as you can go, into a seated forward fold. You may be here. You may be here. You may have your arms to the floor and head towards the ground. Breathing into that fold, feeling the stretch being activated now in the thighs. If you take your right arm, followed by left to your right hand side, giving yourself a gentle side twist and stretch. Before following back to center, all the way to your left, into your side seated twist. You may be on the floor like I am here. You may be here. You may be here, finding what works for you, your body, your time. I am here only as the guide. And bringing yourself back to center, we're going to uncross our legs. Give our legs a little shake. Shake those legs that we've been sat down crossed on for quite some time there. And bring some tapping into the legs, just gently tapping down the thighs and the calf, the muscles of the calves, muscles of the thighs. Squeezing those thighs, giving them a squeeze, saying hello and waking them up, getting the blood slowly moving to them, because we're going to be using these beautiful muscles that we have and engaging them in some stood up practice in about 15 minutes. Taking your hands to your feet if you can, giving the soles of your feet a massage. You may lean over like this. You may bring your foot to you to give the soles of your feet a circular massage using your thumbs, soles of your feet at the top of the ball of your foot, taking it to each toe, giving each toe, pressing the soft ball, the bottom of each toe. A few rotations on each little toe before squeezing them, giving them a little squeeze, giving them some tactile sensory input there. Going down the sole of your foot to the heel, to the middle, and then the heel. And following what feels good with this little foot massage, you may want to stay on a particular spot. You may want to follow the sequence I'm offering. This is adaptive for you. And if your foot is on your left leg or on your leg, I invite you just to take your foot over into this cross. So let me show you from the side. I've crossed here like this. And we're going to just give that a little hug there. Breathing into that. Taking our right arm around this leg. We're going to go more into our full supine twist that we warmed up on. Taking left behind you. Twisting the spine and the head. Holding into that seated supine twist, the full seated supine twist. Releasing right down to floor, left hugging the knee. Into your seated supine twist. Releasing this leg from its fold. Now going to do some gentle, I'll bring my mat here and I'll probably do it sideways now. So I was going to continue doing it this way, which can be useful for you to see, but I think maybe twisting this way would be beneficial. We're going to put our arm under our leg and we're going to rotate the ankle. We're focusing on the right leg or your left leg, whichever leg you're on at the moment, stay on that. And we'll swap over in a minute. And then we're going to twist from the knee. Twisting from the knee in a circular rotation, like so. One way and the other, feeling the muscles switch on and activate. And then I invite you to twist from the hip, keeping your arm under. You twist around now from the hip. From the hip here, you may have a hold of your ankle or your calf to help you do so. Twisting from the hip. One way and the other way. Breathing in and out. It can be quite mobilizing, even these gentler ones, yeah? And then taking your leg into a happy or seated happy baby. We're going to rock the baby. So, supporting the ankle, you may be here, you may be supporting it, and we're going to rock side to side. Remembering, tap into your breath, closing down the eyes, rocking the baby, rocking the self, giving yourself that nurturing parasympathetic stimulation of rest, of restoration, of gentle awakening of the body. Returning leg to outwards in front of you, staying on the same leg, our right leg, or the leg that you're working on. We're going to take our leg to the sky, hand in front of you. So I've got my right leg up, my left hand in the sky, taking our foot into chest. We bring our leg outwards to the side and we look to the left arm or the arm that you have out. You may be here. You may be here. Crossing the midline, bringing hand to meet. We take over into a diagonal, contralateral, bilateral stretch, holding into that. And doing that one more time, returning to center, right hand on your right foot. If you've got your left leg, you've got your left hand on your left foot. Hand to sky. Weaving into that stretch. Turning foot to the chest or to your abdomen. Taking foot and leg to side. Looking over to the opposite side. I'm looking to my left as my right is out to the side. Breathing into that stretch, we return to the midline, crossing the midline, bilateral, contralateral mobilization. Feeling into that stretch. And one more time on this side, right to the sky. Back to the chest, taking our leg outwards to the side, looking to the left or the opposite of your foot where your foot is pointing and bringing to the center across the midline, meeting left, take the right foot and stretching bilaterally, contralaterally, using different areas of the body, opposites, crossing the midline, making our brains just work a little bit harder and in simpatico with the body, and returning foot to the ground. We're going to work now on the opposite leg that you've just worked on. It's the left for me. And I'm going to show you from this angle. Going to begin with our ankle twist, with our hands underneath our knee. One way. And the other way, you may have some cricks and clicks, some creaks. Now from our knee, rotating from the knee. Going around one way, feeling the activation in the thigh as you swirl around the other, gently preparing the leg for its stretch. And from the hip, holding onto the knee still, or grabbing towards the calf or the ankle, begin to twist from the hip, not from the knee, but twist from the hip with a bend in the knee, one way. Remembering your breath, and the other way, rotating around the other way. Into those lovely seated hip circulations and rotations. Bringing your foot towards you, your ankle towards you, cradling your knee, rocking the baby. Rocking the hip joint, expanding into the hip flexors there. Maybe closing down the eyes to feel into that motion and sensation that we're generating. And crossing over now, our foot over the thigh, placing foot onto floor. We're going to hug, turning to my left, hands behind me, left hand behind me, into my full seated supine twist. Taking a few breaths there, swinging around, right unhooks from the thigh to the floor, your left hooks around the thigh, and you look behind, or as far as you can, you may be here, into your full seated supine twist. And holding for a few breaths there. Before releasing the left leg or the leg you just worked on, we're going to take the side of our foot and, like the other side, join me now in reaching and pushing our leg out to the sky. You may be here, your right hand up into the air in front, or you may be all the way up, finding what is good for your range of motion, stretching into that and holding into that, pushing the foot into hand, breathing into that, taking the foot to the center of the chest before expanding outwards, looking to the right hand, in my case, taking leg to the side, before crossing the midline, meeting the right to grab on to the foot and pulling over diagonally, whilst you follow the arm behind you. My left I'm following behind me, feeling into that pull and that stretch. Before returning back to ground, we're going to do that 2 more times. We take our left into the sky, right hand in front, turning to the center, left leg outwards to the side or just in front of you, looking to the right, or doing a swap across the midline and pulling diagonally across you. Returning to center 1 more time, left to the sky, right hand to the sky, left to the center, left out to the sky, right hand to your right, looking to your right, turning to center, crossing the midline, swapping there, and looking back towards your left hand, and returning legs down to center. You may want to keep your legs outwards like this. Actually, we will, because we're going to do a forward fold now. Stretching upwards, giving our spine a little rest from seated practice by bending towards the toes. You may be here, keeping your head upwards, your shoulders engaged. You may be here on your ankles. You may be here towards your knees. Stretching to sky, forward fold. Or if you can, only if you can, you may go to your feet, to your toes, placing the forearms on the mat and stretching, feeling into that stretch there. This is my range of limit today. Some days I can go all the way down, but today, this morning, it's here. So it's listening and respecting the body. And one more time to sky. Stretching downwards and holding into that fold. And in yin yoga, which we're not doing today, in yin yoga, they hold these poses for 3 to 5 minutes sometimes to get that real restorative sense of rest. We're doing more of a hatha and vinyasa flow today with restorative elements. Taking your right to the sky, following your gaze upwards as your hand stretches. Returning to center, following your hand, left hand to the sky. Returning to center, following your right to the sky. Before gently sitting back upwards, realigning. Taking a breath there. Before joining me in some more floor work, before we go back into some somatic practice of some tapping, some natural vagus stimulation. First, we're going to work on this spine, because we've been on it, on our sit bones for quite some time. So join me on all fours now, if you can. If you struggle with all fours, you can do your cat-cow seated on the bottom like this. You can do your cat-cows by taking your arms to side, bringing them elbows to center and curving your chin to chest and curving the spine this way and expanding outwards. So I'll show you from the side. Taking your arms to the side, bringing your elbows together and you curve your spine inwards. Look at that nice C shape. And you expand outwards and you repeat that. That's how you can do your cat-cow seated. But if you can join me on all fours whilst we engage in our cat-cows. So palms, fingertips spread nice and wide on the mat. Bending into the elbows, taking chin towards the floor before returning upwards to sky and straightening your elbows. Taking your chin towards chest, bending into the elbows. Chin towards chest, we curve into the spine, pushing our hands firmly against the mat. Following back through, chin to sky, bending elbows, elbows straighten, chin to sky, stretch. Returning now back to chin to chest, spine to sky, nice C shape. And following your own flow here now. Find your rhythm. Find your pace. You may want to stay slow. You may want to engage in a full flow state. Nice flow. Mobilizing the body, mobilizing the spine that we've just been stretching. And at the top here, pushing against the mat, bringing some flow movement in. Begin to explore with bending of the elbows, rotations of the shoulders, joining in by rotations of the spine and the neck, rotations of the tailbone and the hips, moving like a snake, moving freely, expressively, closing down the eyes, really following and flowing into that space. You may want to bring the knees and the bottom switching to the floor before raising back, Switching to the floor, half child's pose, switching back as you engage. And you flow. For recentering, slowly back to our alignment and our stillness. Placing one hand in front of you, followed by the other, bringing ourselves down, hips to sky, bottom to sky, puppy dog pose. Chest to floor, forehead to the ground, into our puppy dog pose. Feeling into the gravity and that stretch along the top of the flanks of your back and your shoulder blades, stretching the shoulders. Raising one hand back towards the self, followed by the other. We're going to thread the needle once either side before doing some arm rotation. So taking your right arm, threading the needle underneath the arm before reaching up to the sky. Threading the arm through, leaning onto the ground on your right shoulder, left the sky. Left back to ground, right to sky, spreading to the sky, stretch. One more threading of the needle. Entering a lovely flow state there. If you're left to the sky, your left might want to go into a bind behind you. And your face is looking up at the sky. Left to the ground, stretching right to the sky before rotating in front of you and stretching down into a half puppy dog. Stretching the shoulder there. Rotating back towards the sky, bringing your arm to the right of you laterally and looking the opposite way towards your left. So you lean into that top shoulder neck stretch there in your half puppy dog pose. Stretching to the sky. One more threading of the needle. Left to sky, head follows. You may want to go into your bind. Hand to sky, left to ground, returning to center. Taking your left hand underneath, threading the needle, left to sky, following your gaze to your hand. Threading the needle, leaning onto the left shoulder, follow your right hand, gaze following, looking up. Returning hand to sky, hand to floor, left to sky. Threading that left needle through, taking right to sky, following the gaze. You may want to bring your hand into your bind. Taking right to floor, left to sky, rotating left down in front, bending into your right elbow, forehead to mat or chin to mat into your puppy dog half pose, feeling into the stretch of the left. Before returning hand to sky, bending the right elbow, taking your left sideways down and looking to your right. And I'll just show you, I'll just change pose. I'm doing this before returning upwards. One more final thread of the needle. Threading left through the right, right to sky, head follows into your stretch or bind there. Before returning to center, putting hands stretch out in front of you. And returning down into a child's pose. Child's pose. You may have your legs slightly out. Torso goes down into the space. Arms as far as you can, chest to floor, chin or forehead to the mat. Stretching, resting into your child's pose now. You may want to have your hands on your feet like this for a more cocooned experience. Cocooning back in the self from the stretching and elongating and expanding we've been doing in this very restorative practice today. Gently preparing and waking the body. And take some breaths there. Taking our hands out in front of us, fingertips spread, raising to our knees, tucking the toes, taking time to realign, tuck the toes. We're going to push up our hands from the mat and we're going to go and meet ourselves in our downward dog. So we're now stretching the arms and the legs all simultaneously, and the spine and the shoulder blades, all of that activation that we've been doing individually, we're now engaging together in this pose. And taking some deep breaths there. Making sure your feet are firmly to the ground. You may want to step forward, back nice and straight, hips and bum to the sky, taking your right to the sky. Returning right to ground, taking your left to the sky. Returning left to ground, taking your right leg to the sky, pushing outwards. And swooping down and through the chest, slowly planting the foot in front of you, joining the left knee on the mat, swooping your hands to the sky. Nice back stretch, followed with hands behind you, going to the heel of your right foot, swooping down. You may want to keep your hands on the mat, so we go hands upwards, taking your hands to your mat, pushing onto the heel, backwards. Finding your range of motion, you may be here. Swooping back upwards, let's do a flow sequence, and back, upwards, and back. Hands to the thigh, rocking now into that thigh. Hands to the sky, taking our right hand behind us, our left in front, into a side supine twist. And all these movements we've been preparing for, coding the body, rather than jumping straight in and shocking the body, swooping upwards, left behind you, right in front, supine half twist. And taking your foot to the edge of your mat, your hands may be on the ground here. Into your stretch, you may want to tuck the toe and join me, raising that back leg and breathing into that stretch. I invite you, if you can, to take your hand to the sky in this lunge. Returning hand to floor. You may want to bring your knee back down. I invite you, if you can, to lower onto your elbows or use a block if you have one. You may want to stay where you are here, but I'm going to lower onto my elbows, lifting that back leg up again and breathing into that full flexor strip. Taking my hand to the sky in that lunge there. Before releasing, returning right to the ground, hands upwards into that stretch, and taking our leg backwards again. And what we're doing here, instead of doing the warriors, which you are more than welcome to do in your own practice, We're getting some of the benefits of the warriors through the floor work in this restorative approach. Taking our hands just in front of us, spread the fingertips nice and wide. You're going to tuck the toe of your left foot, return your right to the back, hips to the sky, downward dog. Taking a pause and a few breaths there. Taking your right to the sky, your left to the sky, pushing upwards to the sky. Following your left through the body, planting the foot in front of you, right knee to the ground, hands to sky. Before taking hands in front or behind. Hands in front, heel to the ground, hips towards the ground, rocking into that stretch. Hands upwards, going into flow. Hands to the sky, either hands to the mat or swinging behind as you go on your hip and your heel. Hands to the sky as you go back onto your hip and your heel. One more time, hands to the sky. Finding your flow. You go into your hip and your heel. And going forward one more time, bending into the knee, hands to sky, taking your right hand behind you, left in front, following the gaze of your right, into your lunge, supine twist. Meeting back to center, hands to sky, breathing in, using the breath. Left, behind, following, looking at the left, right in front of you. Coming back upwards to center, back, forward. I'm going to invite you to place your hands to the ground, moving your foot towards the edge of your mat. You can stay here, like so, with your hands planted, tucking the toes of your right foot, bringing your leg up into a forward wide lunge. And from here, taking your left to the sky, feeling the engagement there and the more mobilizing practice we are now engaged with before returning to the floor, knee to the floor and pausing, taking a few breaths. You may want to join me on your elbows to the ground, or you may want to stay here. I'm going to go elbows to the ground, tucking my toe underneath my right foot, lifting the thigh and feeling into that stretch. I'm going to take my left to the sky and sit into that stretch. Returning left to ground, knee to ground, bringing ourselves upright and taking ourselves back, hips to ground, hands outstretched onto our heel. Before rolling forward, bending the knee, placing palms outstretched, fingers outstretched to the ground, tucking the right toe and taking our left to meet our back, returning now to our downward dog. Bringing our hands now, bringing our feet, should I say, walking our feet to the top of the mat and join me in a forward fold. You may want to bend the knees. What's important here is that the chest is making contact with the thighs. So you don't want your legs necessarily locked straight, because that's quite difficult then to get that contact. Bend your knees a little or a lot and make contact for your forward fold. You can take your arms around to the calves, to the ankles. And you bring your head down into your forward fold. You may be here for your forward fold. You may be here. Allowing the blood to rush to your head. Taking your hands in front of you gently onto the fingertips. Lift up, straighten the legs, straighten the spine forward into a halfway lift. Bending back down into your forward fold. Your forward fold, taking an arm stretch, follow the stretch. Right to the sky, returning right to the ground, taking your left, the sky, following that stretch. Returning left to the ground, bending forward, fingertips straightening the legs into your halfway lift. From your halfway lift, taking hand to the sky, stretching, straightening now our spine and legs into an L. And what we're doing here is massaging the spine and stretching the leg simultaneously. I'm going to end on some sun salutations, and then we will be going into our vagus stimulation and restoration. So joining me at the top of your mat, we're going to do our sun salutation now, which is a sequence of everything we've just been looking at before slowing all the way down. So we're only going to do 2 sun salutations. So piling everything we've just done into a flow state. I will guide you through it. So hands to the sky, bending to the floor, forward fold, bending those knees, halfway lift, right leg behind you, dropping to the knee, left knee bent, swooping to the sky. Going backwards to the bottom, swooping up to the sky, turning behind, going to center, reaching to the sky, palms to the ground, left foot meets the back, breathing into that, dropping the knees, chin, chest, into our cobra, tucking the toes into downward dog, left lunge, front, lifting to the sky, placing our hands to the ground, right foot meets the front, the forward fold, halfway lift, forward fold, and reaching, pushing to the sky. One more time at the top of your mat, taking a moment before we forward fold, bending into the legs, touching the ground or your calf, followed by halfway lift, bending one more time, halfway lift. Left foot goes back this time, dropping onto the left knee, bending into the right. We reach to the sky, taking our heel back. We swoop behind, bottom to the floor, reaching forward, reaching to the sky, taking our left behind us, serpine twist, reaching out in front of us, hands to the sky, bottom to the floor, back on the heel, bending into the knee, placing hands in front of you, tucking the left toes, right meets the back, downward dog. Knees to the floor, chin, chest, following through into your cobra. Tucking the toes, returning to your downward dog. Right foot goes forward, reaching to the sky. Returning hands to the floor, left meets the right, forward fold. Halfway lift, forward fold. before reaching, expanding to the sky. And taking a moment there as we've tapped into our mobilizing sun salutations after all of that gentle restoration. We finally got into our mobilized state, and that was deliberate today. Some practices will be mobilized flow sequences. Some classes will be very yin, restorative, and vinyasa. Today, I really wanted to dedicate that time of really caring for the different elements of the body before compiling them into a flow sequence. And I'm doing this to introduce you to different postures so that in a few classes later, we can do the flow. We can do the mobilization without injury, without pain, without overexhaustion. Each of our bodies is very unique, and delivering this from a somatic psychological approach, not a yoga class. So I will always, Alexa, stop. I will always, I will always prioritize the body and mind connection over an exercise class, always. Okay, we're going to end now. If you join me seated on the mat, we're going to end with some, I'm just trying to think, butterfly taps or lying down. We're going to end with lying down first, so our Shavasana. Lying down onto your back for me, my loves. The way that we begun class. Maybe stretching out, giving yourself a stretch. Feet, the toes, the hands above you. Feeling the difference from the start of class to now. And like the start of class, returning your attention to the navel, to the belly button, to the stomach. And from that center point of your navel, detecting any sensations that are swirling around the container of your body. The legs, the feet, the calves, the wrists, the arms. Any new sensations that have arrived. Any mobilization that may have surfaced. As we begin to slow down into our restorative rest state once more. And from our lying down position, I invite you to cross your arms over to your shoulders. I will sit myself up so you can see. But we're going to do butterfly taps, sitting, lying down. So crossing your arms to your shoulders. Oh dear, it keeps doing the fireworks. We're going to tap. Slowly, steadily. Tapping into our butterfly taps in our Savasana. Or pausing there, giving yourself a squeeze at the top of your arms. Sweeping down from the top of your arms to your shoulders. Sweeping there. Awakening the tactile stimulation that we have. Giving that attention and stimulation inwards now, instead of outwards through posture. And returning to tap. Or squeezing at the top there. And rubbing down the arms again, rubbing down. or taking a deep breath in and out. You may want to stay in your Savasana, you're lying down for some time, or you may join me with wiggling the fingertips, wiggling the toes, turning onto your left side or your preferred side into fetal, rounding to the earth below you, before slowly raising yourself up from your arms onto your sit bones into seated position, where we will close our practice with some breath work. We're going to close our practice with the physiological sigh. Physiological sigh, we take a deep breath in, inhale sharply, and exhale. Taking a deep breath in, sharp inhale, and exhale. Deep breath in, sharp inhale, and exhale. Returning to normal breath. I invite you to take your fingertips just under the collarbones and breathing normally, inwards, deeply inwards, tapping under the collarbones, breathing outwards, breathing inwards, tapping into the collarbones, breathing outwards. And releasing, palms turn to sky, flick to the sky, breathing out, pushing out in front of you, breathing out, fingers stretched, shake those hands, bring them around, shake them, mobilizing energy, shaking the arms, rotating the shoulders, sweeping left to right, doing our yatis, our stims. Some free movement. Some side to side laterals, really waking up that body again, recentering, realigning, and we're going to end with orienting the way we began, orienting our external exteroceptive sense after so much interoceptive sensing, looking at the things that you can see, my plant, my orange salt lamp, the pink of my card, the porcelain of my tin, noticing the quality of your air. Is it warm? Is it cool? Noticing the sensation of your body, of yourself in conjunction with the exterior landscape around you, and settling into that, integrating that all. Integrating that all. Taking a stretch outwards with me to sky. We're going to end with lion's breath. And deep breath in and release. Deep breath in and release. One more time. Deep breath in and release. Palms to center. You can join me with an a vocalization and hum, breathing inwards. Releasing with om. Om. rubbing hands together, creating that fire, that energy, placing hands to eyes, opening the eyes if they're not open, letting that light back in, taking hands to the top of your head, the crown of your head, pushing there, breathing in. Before one more release, deep breath in, hands up and release. Thank you for practicing with me today. I hope you enjoyed this practice. It was very restorative today in its flow state, with a bit of gentle mobilization at the end with our downward dogs, forward lunges, and with our sun salutations. If you would like to book me or join in with purely yoga class, I will be offering that in the next few weeks. This is a blend of somatic meditation, somatic tools, sensory motor sequencing, free associative movement, blended with yoga asana. So this is never a full yoga class, just to reiterate that. But if you would like to join me in purely yoga sequential flow, which is quite fast paced, then you're more than welcome to give me a message about that. My next yoga movement somatic class is Wednesday the 13th at 6:30 UK time PM. And I will be sticking with that restorative, the natural vagus stimulation, and bringing in some mobilization towards the middle and towards the end of class. In a week or so's time, I will be doing a mobilizing class. So next Sunday's class will be quite mobilizing in movement, in stood up work, in invitation to dance, in yoga asana. We'll be working towards mobilization next Sunday morning. But this Wednesday's class is going to be a mix of that restoration with gentle mobilization again. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this class. Use your 5-point check-in worksheet that I gave from last week to note those different elements of the body, the mind, the sense, your energy, and note how you feel before practice, during practice, and after practice. And it's a really good way to integrate what we've learned, what we've felt, what we've sensed, and reflect on it, really. So yeah, thank you so much for watching and practicing with me. And I hope you go away and utilize some of our different tools that we use today. I'll end with a quick summary. Today we began with a practice called navel radiation. It's a body-mind cognitive scanning meditation, guided meditation. And from there we moved into free associative exploration with movement. From there we did hip rolls, shoulder rolls. We did leg stretches, seated supine stretches, lateral stretches, all seated, warming up the body. From there, we did our full leg stretches before going into a forward folds and lunges and warming up the hips. We did puppy dog, working on the top of our spine and our shoulders, before going into child pose, which then brought us into downward dog, which also had us explore those forward lunges and back lunges. We then went from the downward dogs into a more mobilized practice of sun salutations, where we learned all the different movements that we put early in the practice together into a flow sequence. And that is how yoga is usually practiced. It's practicing a complete flow sequence like that. So that was a bit of vinyasa and hatha flow then at that point, before bringing us back down to our navel radiation recentering again, and butterfly bilateral tapping for natural vagus stimulation, breath work at the end of the physiological sigh and lion's breath, and a bit of self-havening to remobilize, reawaken, and ending with our orientation grounding practice. So that is what we did today. Those were the tools that we learned today. It might not feel like a lot, but I promise you, though, I'm passing on lots of different practical applications for you to cherry pick, choose from, harness in onto one, focus onto one, or put them into flow like I teach. Okay. Well, I will see you next week. I have a guided somatics class tonight at 7 p.m. That one is sat down entirely and extremely restorative. And yes, any questions in the meantime, please do ask and email me. Okay, thank you for joining me. Bye. Oh, and one more thing, I am available to book for one-to-one somatic coaching sessions. So if you feel like the flow and the pace of the class isn't meeting your needs, you can book me for one-to-one consultation and coaching, where I can tailor the class and guide you through tools specifically for your needs and specifically at your pace, instead of at the pace of a group setting. Okay, bye-bye.